Hello. Uh, Thank you for being here. That's super cool. This is something special today. This is my first not live stream. So I'm using the same setup that I do for my live stream. Um, and maybe if I get the chance, I'm going to be in the chat. But we were double booked this evening and decided to pre-record this live stream for you. So it's going to have a bit of the quality of my pre-recorded lessons that I do in the Sketchy Art School, and I won't be able to respond directly to your questions. I would love you still to comment and chat with each other, and I'm sure there'll be a few people in the chat who'll be able to answer any questions that people may have. And yeah, I'm gonna get into this. Hopefully, people have started arriving, and a few of you who are here right now in the beginning will be able to tell them this is not actually live, although it looks like a live stream. Yeah, and as I mentioned, I may be in and out of the chat because as this is live, I'm going to be taking care of my 3 kids, so it's going to be a bit tricky to be here all the time. But I love being here with you, and I think this is a great way to still be sharing with you. And how's Inktober going for everyone? I think it's just amazing seeing all of the work that people are doing, such cool prompts and muses, and I've been loving drawing along to the lessons from Vin and Arto. And I've just been having such a good time taking some impulses from the way they work and letting that flow into the way that I work. So there've been some things that I've been doing, particularly the drawing of Sabrina a couple of days ago for the prompt Teeth by Vin. I had a really fun time doing that. So I thought I'd let that inspire today's piece. And the prompt for today is disgusting. And it was really tricky to find a reference photo on Sketchy for disgusting. All the hashtags for disgusting that I searched, no one's been uploading things with those hashtags. So yeah, it's interesting kind of considering the concept of disgusting and what is disgusting. And I find that I'm not easily disgusted, but I did find a pretty cool photo of someone who seems disgusted. So perhaps taking a step back, the disgusting thing is what's being observed by our muse for today, Stone Bishop. So disgust is a really interesting, kind of primal instinct that we have, meant to serve us and keep us healthy and safe by, just kind of instilling this sense of not wanting to be close to something, and keeping your distance and keeping healthy. So it's good to be disgusted sometimes. And yeah, as I mentioned, the piece I did of Sabrina for teeth, which I've got here, I thought I'd really like to do something similar to this today. So I'll be working with a similar approach to that. So thank you very much, Vin, for the inspiration to work in that style. I'm going to bring up my workspace here, switch that over. So today, the paper that I worked on in my sketchbook for the teeth piece was a Hahnemuller Nostalgie. Now this has a smooth surface, so I guess it's like a hot press. It's much lighter weight paper than I've typically been using. And just again, now that a few people more have hopefully arrived, just to let you know, this is not actually live. It looks like a live stream, but this is me 24 hours ago recording this for you to watch today, because at the moment I'm actually looking after my kids. So yeah, the Hahnemühle Nostalgie paper, I really like it for inking on. It doesn't take moisture as well as the aquarelle paper that I usually use. But it's a great paper. Has a really nice surface, and my sketchbook is actually made of the same paper, and this has been through a lot with me. It's almost full. There's a lot of sketchy work in here, and faces of friends and my children. Yeah, and I just love this paper. So I'll be letting this piece inspire me today in my process. And the stone bishop's wonderful disgusted face. Notice that if there's a difference between disgusting and disgusted. So I'm working that angle of the prompt today. Disgusted, not disgusting. So thank you very much, Stone Bishop, for being our muse. And how do we kick this off? Right, I think Vin, when we were doing the teeth piece, started with a Tombow marker. I'm going to use my brush because I don't have Tombow markers. I have a plate here, which has been serving me really well. I have a couple of different inks I'm using. I've got avocado ink. This is actually dried up, and it's like a half pan watercolor. You can just add water to it and use it like watercolor. So that's pretty awesome. If your ink dries out, you can still use it. And I have my Acorn ink here, which I've been using all Inktober through. Yeah, so I had a gel pen, which I used instead of the Micron, which also seems to be kind of waterproof. So I'll use that today too. But really letting the brush work do a lot of the work for me. It's so much fun working with brushes because you can cover large areas. You get interesting bristle effects with the brushwork. So that's what I'm going to be using today. I've got some water on the side, so I can, on the plate, I can determine how intense my ink is going to be when I put it onto the paper, to take some of that guesswork out. So a white ceramic plate is a really great palette for working with ink or watercolor. Yeah, super useful. So I'll just have that off to the side here. This is really big, this paper. It's also available in smaller sizes, but this is what I've got today. And so here we go. Any questions that may arise, feel free to ask. I'm not going to be able to answer them because it's not live, but if you're lucky, I might be hanging out in the chat to answer some questions, or I'm sure there'll be some other people in the chat who'll be happy to answer. So let's get into this drawing. What do we start with? Yeah, right. The brushwork, or Tombow marker, if you have that. I already have some light. I've got some ink on this plate here. I'll just show you what I'm doing. Here's some ink, and I can add water to this and stretch it out, dilute it, so that I can get the saturation of my ink down. So I want to start off with a lightish kind of grey, and I don't want it to be super wet, so that it's going to dry fast enough for me to be able to work on this together. Let it dry and yeah, just be able to work into it. So the ink that I have here, I'm going to be able to totally push it around a lot to spread it out. That's also going to help it dry faster. And this is just a really loose shadow shape to start off with. And if you squint down at this piece, there's this highlight on the nose and the top of the head. Most of the rest is in shadow. So I hope you're all having a great Inktober. I can't believe it's already 1/3 through. It's been really enjoyable for me to see all of the amazing work that people are doing. And it's also been enjoyable doing the work myself. Just really lovely muses and prompts. It's super enjoyable Inktober practice this year. So this may also be a really this could be a really fast way to set up a portrait. It's interesting here, the teeth, although the teeth are white in this, as you squint down, they're actually still in the shadow family, if you like to. I think it's a nice terminology. There's the light family and the shadow family. When you squint down, and the squinting really helps you determine, okay, what's actually in light, what's actually in shadow. And so the teeth are actually, although they're light, they are in shadow. So I'm just going to fill in this shape. And yeah, I think it's really nice just to simplify things by thinking about abstract shapes. As we look at our reference, we really break it down to abstract shapes, and that helps so much to simplify and understand the forms that we're looking at. Because there can be a tendency to kind of become overwhelmed or not. You're seeing all these different details and maybe not the relationship of how they all fit together. And squinting down is just a great filter. It's so immediate. You can look at something and clearly understand the kind of relationship of the shapes that we're working with. So yeah, this is already a really simple, quick way to start. And now I've got this lovely dry brush. Dry brushing, it's just, you can get such lovely textures. And the great thing about dry brushing is that the bristles start to spread out, and then you get these kind of unpredictable brush strokes. And I think letting the fibers of the brush kind of create this illusion of detail is a really nice way to give a sense of detail without having to go through the monotony of drawing every single stroke with a pen or brush. And I just love that the brush can do that work for you. There's all this scratchy looking stuff in here, which is not any particular detail or feature, but perceived as a whole, it just gives this implication of detail, which is super fun. This is starting to dry. And the way we did it in Vin's class was once it was dry, started to work in, I think that was, I'm not sure how much of this is the way Vin did it or the way I did it, and then kind of diverged from what Vin was doing. But set down these shadows, and then going to start using the micron or gel pen fine liner or you can use your nib pen to work into these shadow forms that we've set up. And this is really, it's like instant gratification because it's just such a intense contrast. We've got this mid-tone all over the place, and then just a really lovely black. So I haven't used these kind of pens for a long time. Been using my natural inks, which take a while to dry usually, and it's a totally different way of working, dipping and drawing, and it can achieve the same effect, but sometimes it can be nice just to use these instant tools as well. So this is be interesting to see if we can convey this sense of disgust that I think the Stone Bishop is so wonderfully expressing in this reference photo. So I think almost in danger there of having the eye too open. Really want to squish it shut. It's interesting, there are actually like intercultural or transcultural reactions to different basic kind of emotions or human states of being, which I think there's been a lot of research done, and regardless of culture, there are certain mannerisms and ways people deal with certain experiences which are kind of global, and these certain, I think, disgust belongs to one of these 7 base emotions, I think, states. I actually worked on illustrations for a book called, in the translation, would be immune against, hang on, gegen Krisen. Sorry, Maui, if you're watching this, but what was it? Immune against crises, stress, and it's just a totally awesome book, and it discusses all these different emotions and breaks down the fact that there are no negative emotions. Like all emotions serve us in a particular way, and as I mentioned at the beginning of this, that disgust is something that serves to protect us from falling ill and from contamination. I think sometimes people may want to check their sense of disgust, because there are some things that just aren't disgusting. People may react to, but then to look, okay, what is it that's triggering that sense of disgust in me, and what is it that I'm trying to protect myself from? That's fascinating stuff. And if you can kind of realize what it is that you're responding to, then you can start to address and work with that within yourself, or just or just accept it and just be disgusted. That's fine. I think I've become desensitized having 3 kids. A lot of things that in a former stage of my life I may have thought are disgusting, I am, now just kind of part of my daily life. It's just a wonderful shape of the lips here. Oh, so cool. This is another good one for teeth. So teeth are bared really nicely here, and great, as Vin mentioned, is to drawing the negative form of teeth. I generally don't get too much into the lines of the teeth, because by defining each individual tooth, it kind of becomes too decided. It's nice to imply it. And if once again, if you squint at it and you look at the teeth, then you kind of lose some of that definition between the teeth anyway. So they like the lines between the teeth don't warrant a full-on intense black line. So I think the name of the book is Immune Against Stress, Problems and Crises by Sebastian Malwitz. And it's full of cute little emotional characters that help people start to identify and connect and recognize different emotional and cognitive states that we have in a non-judgmental and understanding way. All right, so I'm at this stage. I really enjoy the way that loose brushwork in the beginning is working with these super fine, defined lines of this gel pen. I think it's a really fun kind of play between these very different forms of mark making. Once again, for anyone who may have came late, this is not live. It just looks like it. But feel free to ask questions. I hope that there's a nice bit of chatting going on in the chat. That's always so nice during the live streams. People kind of sharing their experiences, maybe sharing some tales of disgust, or just how you're going with Inktober. Hope people are having a wonderful Inktober. And if for some reason you're here and you're as yet unaware of the Inktober Portrait Challenge, it's a very cool thing that's happening in the Sketchy Art School at the moment for the entire month of October. And of course it will be available as long as there's internet after October. So 31 days of muses and tutorials, and check it out. All right, I think this may be enough line work for now. Almost. So what I really enjoyed was how we can put in a nice dark background to kind of push this a bit. Well, this is always, I think, a really interesting decision when you've just got the white of the paper and a solid dark shape in the foreground. You know, that's a certain kind of composition, like me against the white of the room. Oh, I might want to... Sorry, I hope I haven't been getting too many notifications and not noticing while doing this. Yeah, so my face here, and there's this white background, but if there was a dark background, there'd be a totally different play of light and shadow. And that's always, I think, a really interesting decision to make. Do I want this just to be kind of floating in this white space of the paper, or to darken up the whole thing and make those highlights in the face really, you know, like outstanding? So there's some room can still kind of start working with it. I think instantly, if you fill in this background, it will really pop, because you get the white of the paper is kind of eliminated, and then the highlights in the face really they really stand out. But I'm still undecided. Do I want to do that or not? I'm not sure. But for now, I'm going to come back with the brush. And something that was really fun with Sabrina's piece was using the avocado ink, because it was such a nice contrast, such a warm color in contrast to this cool gray from the acorn ink. So I get this, this is dry avocado ink, which is kind of like, you can see a bit there, this dark red color. And since it's dried, I can just use it like a dry watercolor, which is a really interesting kind of side effect of letting the ink evaporate, that it becomes watercolor-like. So there's some areas in here which are kind of quite red and warm. And there's this, I like working in a way where there's this kind of like quick, jerky, flicking movements, which sometimes can, especially if it's a dry brush, can give you some really interesting, interesting mark making. So this is not quite as dark. Yeah, I think a dark background is going to be really good too. Just kind of deciding that at the moment. Some really cool contrast. A bit more water. This pigment down in here is just kind of flaking off. Let me know if you're interested in making dry pigments, because it's something that it's not specifically ink, I guess. Be bending the rules a bit, but I'm tempted to do some paint making, like watercolor paints in the Ink Naturally class. So if other people are also interested in that, I think that would be a really fun thing to do together. It requires some more, what I love about the ink making is how direct it is, and how little you need for it, and how non-toxic most of the colors that I work with are. And once you start making solid dry pigments, there are certain ingredients that you need for it, which are not things that I would want to do with my little kids. And that's kind of like, has often been my gauge. Would I do this with my kids? Would I want to do this with my kids? And just as a kind of health indicator, I want the materials that I have in my home to kind of be not of concern if my kids were to use them. So just some of the areas here, I think it's added a bit of form just by using some of the avocado ink here. And I want to intensify some of this dark area. And I think as this continues to dry, there's you can also come in and do hatching on top. And I just think the layering of different styles of mark making can be really compelling. So we'll see how well this dries in our time together, and maybe just see how we keep building upon it. I think it's often a really fun moment when you start setting up strong contrast in different areas. So having these dark eyes, the corner of the mouth, the nostril, it's just there are a few areas which really help to give contrast and definition to the whole portrait. I'm going to fill in the background, make it nice and dark. I think it'll be cool. So there's a lot of kind of sediment in here. The bottom of this acorn ink, it's really quite thick. A nice big brush here. I'm working with Da Vinci brand synthetic watercolor brushes. They can hold a lot of ink, which is nice. And just like this kind of dry brush stuff, it's so cool. So you can notice here that it's really like grainy. There's a lot of sediment in here. I didn't filter this ink very much. If you wanted it super smooth, then you can use a tea filter or a coffee filter to get the sediment out. But sometimes I like this kind of grit, this grittiness, which that kind of creates. It's just kind of an interesting additional element and character of this particular ink. It's interesting to look up at the screen and see, okay, how does it look there compared to here? And in Arto's lessons, he's been talking about using a mirror, because when you look in a mirror, you start to see you see it in a different way. Like, oh, I've skewed the whole head, or you start to catch certain things that you've been doing which you didn't really notice before. And I find looking at a different screen can help too. Like sometimes just taking a photo with the phone and seeing it as like a thumbnail image, it could be like, oh, okay, I've done that, and just give you a new perspective, a new way to look at your work, and then you can build upon that and choose to change things if you want to. I think I add some thick lines to this. So I've got my trusty Elder pen here, and I don't feel like there's enough interest in this at the moment for me. So I think just some bolder line work is going to help. Just get some interesting line variation. Can really thicken up the eyebrows here, put a lot more ink down. And this is, it's not really dry yet. I was just wondering if you can go in there. There's some nice subtle kind of light effects happening in the dark form of the eye. This paper is really warping compared to the watercolor paper I usually prefer to use. But sometimes it's good to try out the to push the boundaries and limitations of different materials. You notice here that compared to the reference photo, the ear is quite a lot larger, and often, particularly in phone photos, you'll find that the ears really get distorted and become really small. So sometimes it can be good not to be too true to the reference if it's a photo where you've got these tiny little ears. If the stone bishop's ears are that size, that's fine. But it's often something I've just noticed, like in my own photos and stuff, that you get this certain distortion where your ears end up disappearing and they end up really small, depending on how close you are to the camera. It's a kind of a common trait of these tiny little lenses that mobile phones have. We're going about 40 minutes at the moment. Oh, it's good to clean your brushes. I was about to just, I thought I was about to start using avocado ink again. It was really black. So compared to the other day, this maybe it was not as dry, this little jar, the other day, because I had such an amazing kind of intensity from the avocado. So maybe I need to, I'll get some, I've got some fresh avocado ink here. I'm gonna put it into that jar. I've got this plastic syringe I use to move ink around, so I don't have to dip straight into the pure jar of avocado ink. So I've just topped this up with a bit more avocado ink. Yeah, that's so much darker, so much redder. I was missing that intensity. was just wondering, what's he looking at? What is inspiring this sense of disgust? You can all fill in the blanks there. Paper towel. Often, just pushing ink around with a paper towel, I think, has a lovely similar effect to dry brushing. Can get some really nice kind of scratchy looking marks with it. And sometimes even like stuff like that, it's totally non-intentional to smear that ink around, but I often think in a lot of pieces that I do that I really like, there'll be some kind of chaotic things that happened that were maybe not so intentional, or the way the ink is smeared. So I can maybe just really start pushing that, get fearless, try and make it interesting. It hasn't been interesting enough yet. So just pushing ink around in a kind of half-controlled way can really help to end up adding this kind of chaotic, interesting mark making. It's not totally chaotic. Still kind of have a sense of control and steering it, but it can be frightening if you're used to total control, but totally liberating and can lead you to really interesting results. So when I did the piece of Sabrina with the teeth prompt, I thought, wow, this is so cool. I really like this. It's incorporating different elements of how I've worked in the past, but then with some cool guidance and new input from Vin, and taking all of the different Arto's approach as well, and a lot of the different lessons I've been looking at the last couple of weeks. Taking that all into account and mixing it up and making something new with it. And this is a really different reference image, and it's cool to now see, okay, how does that translate to this piece and how I'm working with it. And I think the other one I did it like in half the time. So maybe that's also something, having time pressure can also help to discover new things, and just by having to do something, I think it can just be so helpful and so formative. And then it's interesting to have these moments where it's like, how do you bring that all together to take that style of learning and this new input, and then how does it translate into into new pieces that you work on? It's a really interesting challenge to take the things that you discover that you really enjoy, and then how to continue using it with intention. And every Tuesday I host a live drawing session, and sometimes my 1 minute drawings I feel they're the most alive, and so it's like a constant challenge to be like, how do I bring that sense of life into a drawing which I have a lot more time for, because there's something about quick, sketchy work which is really has a life of its own, and it's a quality which I would like to be able to bring to all of my work, that kind of dynamic feel to it. And speaking of the Tuesday night drawings, come and draw with us on Tuesday. Every Tuesday. Check out my Instagram feed and stories for the link. Invitation open to everyone, and it's so much fun. Okay, maybe now it's this really nice highlight here. I'm going to dilute my avocado ink here a bit. Put some down and push it with a paper towel. Oh, that eyebrow's gone right across the face. Whoops. A bit much ink there. Is there anything I can do about that with the tools available to me? Not something I would have chosen to do. See if I can manage to get away with it somehow. Put a bit of water on. Oh, it's a bit lighter. I'll just have to intensify the eyebrow a lot more. I think now the eyes have probably dried up a bit, so I can. This would maybe be good with the micron. I forgot about that, like coming back and hatching and stuff. Oh well. Not a micron, I guess, but something similar. So I think there's a point when you've made such a mess, got a lot of cool big brush strokes and stuff, and there's a point where it's like the right time to come back and add some detail and definition, because I think it can make the difference between something feeling like a total sketch and sometimes just a bit more detail, a bit more definition can shift it from totally sketchy to like, oh, this could be a finished portrait. And there are certain things like places where you can add some more detail, and I think that contrast of total loose mark making and really tight controlled hatching and line work, it can be such a nice contrast and play. This really cool highlight on the top lip here. Let's see if I could bring that back a bit. Because of the like stubble and facial hair, some of the grey of this acorn ink can add a nice kind of facial hair quality to the lower face. See if we can get some more intensity back into the eyes and eyebrows. Oh yeah, forgot this eye. So yeah, we're almost coming to a close. If you came late, you may have realized by now, hopefully from the comments in the chat, or my unresponsiveness to the questions being posed, that this is not live. But it's been a fun way to share with you, even though I untypically was not able to be here live tonight. I hope you have enjoyed this inking session nonetheless. And I'd love to see what you've all done. So yeah, definitely tag me when you post your work. I'd love to see it. I'm trying to keep up with responding to everyone. There's just so much happening in Inktober on Sketchy and the Sketchy Art School on Instagram. So many posts, and I just love seeing what everyone's doing. But I'm not able to respond to everyone's posts, but I'm there. I'm seeing it. So thank you for sharing. So yeah, you can tag me, tag the Inktober Portrait Challenge, tag Ink Naturally, and if you are not yet signed up to Ink Naturally and haven't done the Ink Naturally class yet, there is a coupon at the checkout, Ink Naturally 40, all capitals, or is it just Ink Naturally? Well, make sure the link is down below this video, that when you sign up for Ink Naturally and purchase that you can get 40% off another class. And there are so many amazing classes, so much to learn in the Sketchy Art School. So if you're not already in the Ink Naturally class, then take advantage of that. All right, I think he's looking pretty disgusted, right? So I think this line work in here has just added a really nice contrast to all that looseness of the brushwork. I think the shirt, is the shirt too white? Or can we leave it like that? It's interesting. I love this kind of floral pattern in the shirt, but I'm not going to get into all those details now. I wonder, just like a light grey wash to keep the focus of the highlights up here, because this is just having this big highlighted area now that we've blocked in all that dark background. It's really it can detract from the highlights. So maybe just kind of this nice highlight on the shoulder. I guess it's like this leading line leading up to the face. Maybe we can get the background even darker. got some lovely sediment at the bottom of my ink jar, so let's really get inky. This intense shadow is not really present, but I feel like it's just kind of giving a bottom, like to keep the focus up here. Oh, you can't see it too much. I've kind of drawn off the edge, but yeah, there's always things we could keep doing, but yeah, I think this is really interesting. I don't have the same oh yeah feeling I did when I finished this one of Sabrina, but it was still a great exercise. I can't really put them next to each other, but this is definitely something I want to explore a lot more, and just taking another opportunity to do that. There's the intensity of the ink is really different here. This one was a mix of avocado and acorn. That's why it's so dark red. That's in another little bottle over here. But there's something this was so brief, and there's something in translation to like a 1 hour drawing, which there's just this dynamic feeling here. I still think this is cool and it's been a lot of fun, but this is something I definitely have to keep working with, because I would like to bring more of that feeling. This is also totally different, the joy of this reference, as opposed to the disgust of this one. But it's it's cool to explore these things. And the final moments here. We're nearly done. But that dark red that I had there. This is a mix where I mixed avocado ink with acorn ink. Maybe there's some adding a bit more contrast, and it's always interesting, where is the moment when you stop? When is it finished? And sometimes just a few marks or just another couple minutes can make such a difference to the overall feel. That is too white. Get rid of that. Yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed this special not live stream. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit the thumbs up button, and come back next week. It will be live again, and we can chat some more about natural ink, inking, portraits, whatever you'd like to chat about. But for now, you can send me a message, you can tag me, whatever you like. I'm really looking forward to seeing how you all handle this. I hope the Stone Bishop is happy with this interpretation of his disgusted. That was a hashtag he used as well. Disgust. So yeah, that was fun. I think these last few moments have really added something here. A bit more contrast, a bit more depth. I think the white of the eyes are maybe a bit too bright, but whatever. For now, this is our, maybe for some of you, your second piece you've done with the prompt disgusting today. So thank you all for joining me, and have a wonderful week. And I look forward to seeing a lot more amazing Inktober pieces in the coming week. Bye-bye.